Get the facts on beef sustainability. What you need to know about KCA's long-range plan. And see what else you missed this month and what you can look forward to in Kentucky beef. You're watching Kentucky Cattle News. This is Jacob Redway reporting. With all the conversations around cow farts, meat alternatives, and beef's impact on the environment, it's important for cattlemen to talk about these issues and spur the good work our industry does. It's important that we share the facts about beef sustainability. So we sat down with Sarah Place, NCBA's Senior Director of Sustainable Beef Production Research, and she shared several facts and strategies you can use in conversations about beef sustainability.
So when it comes to sustainability and a lot of these environmental issues, we know they're a hot topic. There are a lot of these things that are being said on social media. So it's always good to keep in mind, how to best do that in terms of interacting with people. So of course, if you're not trained in the Masters of Beef Advocacy program, I would be remiss to not put a pitch out for that program. That's a great way to kind of think about how you engage with different people. So always be respectful. And sometimes when you're engaging with people that have strongly held beliefs that aren't really aligned with science, sometimes the best thing is just to disengage. If you want to be a little bit provocative starting a conversation, you can say, well, beef is the original plant-based meat, right? Which is true. So of course, what cattle do is they transform lower value plants that we can't eat into an incredibly nutritious and delicious product. And whether it's grass or grain finished in the United States, beef is a grass-based product. What we see from research is that 82% of what grain finished cattle eat in their entire life cycle is actually grass. And only about 11% of what cattle eat is actually grain. And you can kind of use that as a conversation starter to tell people about how do you actually produce beef, right? And open the door to that conversation if people are interested. Cattle, again, in the United States, the number to remember is 2%. That's the greenhouse gas emissions that actually come from beef cattle directly, the consequence of those animals themselves. So just remember that figure 2%. The other thing is that number is not static over time in terms of what we produce, in terms of environmental impacts. All those things that our producers have done in Kentucky and across the United States have really lowered our environmental footprint. So another thing to remember is that from 1975 to today, we produce the same amount of beef with a third fewer cattle. And that really is amazing from a standpoint of reducing the amount of natural resources it takes to produce human food. And that can be another great conversation starter to lead into, what do you do on your operation in terms of genetics or grazing management? It's all those little things that you do every day as a producer that has driven that amazing statistic.
To continue the beef sustainability conversation, we also caught up with Dr. Frank Mittliner at Alltech's 119 conference in Lexington. Dr. Mittliner is a professor and air quality extension specialist at the University of California, Davis. He shared thoughts on what cattlemen should know about meat alternatives and more facts on beef sustainability.
In the United States, we eat about 222 pounds of meat a year. 222. The entire alternative to meat, that includes all of them, 0.35. We have 222 pounds on the one side and 0.35 on the other side. They kind of tell themselves and the world that they are forced to reckon with, but they are minuscule at this point. And I do not think that they will be a serious competition in the years to come. About 2/3 of all agricultural land is what we refer to as marginal, meaning the soil and or the water is not sufficient to grow crops. That land, 2/3 of all agricultural land, I repeat that, can only be utilized by ruminant livestock because, for example, cattle, because they can take cellulose, non-human edible feed, and upcycle it. Not just do they recycle, they upcycle it into human edible food, animal-sourced food that is very nutritious, has excellent digestibility. It is pretty much the gold standard for bioavailability and digestibility of essential macro and micronutrients. So the upcycling aspect of beef is a big one, okay? That they use a lot of stuff, of feed stuff, that would otherwise not be used. People are interested in eating animal source food and they are wondering what the most sustainable one is. And I believe that beef is among the most sustainable ones because without them, we would not use a vast amount of land that's only suitable for animal species. We would pretty much not make use of it at all.
For more information and resources you can use in your conversations about beef sustainability, Visit beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Also, be sure to read Nikki Ellis's article about sustainability in the June issue of Cow Country News. 13 Kentucky beef leaders and KCA staff met in February and March to begin a multi-part planning series to establish strategic objectives for the Kentucky Cattlemen's Association and the beef industry for the next 5 years. The process for this long-range plan began in December of 2018. Kevin Ochsner has advised the committee through the process. Ochsner is not only the host for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, but is also the founder of his consulting practice, Accelerate LLC.
We kicked off the process formally in March with a one-day meeting with staff, trying to assess and understand some of the key drivers of change they see impacting Kentucky beef cattle industry. The next 2 days we spent working with the long-range planning committee process. And Kentucky Cattlemen did a wonderful job assembling a very diverse group of people from all across the state to serve as our long-range planning committee. The second meeting occurred in March, and that meeting really was focused on trying to understand what should be the fundamental goals and objectives of Kentucky Cattlemen.
The last long-range plan for the association was completed in 1998. The planning committee created a detailed analysis of the current state of the industry and the issues and trends which could impact the beef industry over the next 5 years. They also discussed the KCA and the programs the association manages to integrate a full comprehensive plan that will create benchmarks the association hopes to reach. The committee will present the long-range plan to the KCA Board of Directors for approval in June.
This is a beef cattle state, and I think there are some exciting opportunities for how Kentucky Cattlemen, working in concert with other industry segments, can work together to find ways to add value to Kentucky cattle. How can we figure out how to take our natural resources of lots of grass, clean water, and 38,000 cattle producers and capitalize on that for the betterment of the beef industry? Those are the things that I think the strategic plan will address.
For more information about the long-range plan, stay tuned to the Kentucky Cattle News and upcoming issues of Cow Country News. Be sure to attend Eden Shells Farm Summer Tour on June 25th at the farm in Owen County, Kentucky. Arrive early to check in. The tour begins at 4 p.m. The tour will provide an in-depth look at the farm's winter feeding systems, including the large hay feeder, the fence-line feeding system, and other best management practices. You can RSVP by calling the KCA office at 859-278-0899 or emailing kbn@kycattle.org. Join the event on Eden Shell's Facebook page for more info and updates. And be sure to follow the blog at EdenShellFarm.com. The May Lunch and Learn series at the Yards Classroom hosted Steve Higgins, the Director of Animal Environmental Compliance for the UK College of Agriculture. He discussed how structures and livestock engineering can maximize your profits. The presentation was broadcasted live on the Yards Facebook page. Here are the highlights.
The problem is farm layout is often given little or no consideration, which usually results in an arrangement that is neither simplistic nor systematic for labor efficiency nor livestock production. So my question to you all is do you think about planning and design? You want to have efficient use of space. You want to make the farm comfortable, clean, safe, sanitary, and attractive. And it will build your morale as well as the cattle. So design is a tool. I would appreciate it if you all start thinking about how design and planning can play a role in reducing your drudgery as well as the drudgery on the cattle and save you a bunch in the way of costs, which is going to do nothing but increase your profits.
You can watch the full presentation on the Yards YouTube or Facebook pages. Be sure to attend the next Lunch and Learn for a free meal and another great topic. Beef Month in Kentucky was a huge success. Sales from the Raising the Stakes t-shirt raised donations for Feeding Kentucky worth almost 900 meals to fight hunger and help Kentuckians in need. A huge thank you to everyone who purchased the shirt and helped Beef Month give back. Also during Beef Month, Kentucky Beef Council staff traveled to various TV and radio stations, local events, meetings, and more to share beef knowledge and tasty recipes. KBC shared beef stories with consumers of all ages and backgrounds across Kentucky. For more Beef Month coverage, follow the KBC Facebook page and visit kybeef.com. Thanks for watching Kentucky Cattle News, where we're always thankful for farm families, healthy herds, and tasty traditions.